Hi, I'm Morgan O'Brien. I'm from IBM Rational Software Group, and I'm here today with some of my colleagues. We've got Daryl Rader. Daryl, you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
All right, thanks for joining us today, Daryl. And we have John Liu also here with us today. You want to say hi, John?
Yes, hi, hello.
All right, great. So thanks again for both of you to spend the time with me today. I appreciate it. So we're here to talk a little bit about some work we're doing with some of our customers in a video series that we're doing. And we wanted to have John here to give us a little information and talk about one of his experiences with one of our clients. So maybe you can start by talking about the client's industry and a little bit about the client.
Sure. Hi, Morgan. Good to see you again. Hi, Daryl. Good to see you again. And I love this Google Hangout already. This is working pretty well so far. Yeah, so let me just, you two know who I am, but let me just introduce myself a little bit. I am a senior managing consultant with IBM Rational Service Group, and I have been with IBM for over 12 years, and I'm glad to report that I've been spent all my time helping our customers improve their software delivery experiences through practice improvements as well as tooling. And I'm very, very excited about the emergence of such process as Devops, because it really addresses one of the biggest gaps in software delivery lifecycle, which is the gap between software development and operations, right? So recently I worked with this customer. It's a company in the telecommunications sector, a large company with a lot of teams, large teams as well, and a lot of applications spanning a lot of different technologies. Some are old, some are legacy technologies, right? So they know that they have some problems in their software delivery process because they are not really delivering features, enhancements, or fixing bugs as fast as they would like to. Just because the nature of the different technologies and the number of applications they're dealing with, they weren't really sure, what was the root causes of the problems that they're having, right? So that's how we got involved, right? So initially we did a little assessment, and then we find out that they weren't really doing too badly developing software, building software, but they weren't doing very well when it came to deploying their applications to their environments. And they do have a lot of environments, hundreds and thousands of those environments all over the world. They have data centers in Europe, in China, really all over the world. And like a lot of customers, they have a lot of deployment scripts, here and there. But you really need to know a lot to be able to run those scripts to deploy your applications. So they don't have a lot of people who are knowledgeable enough to be able to really deploy applications to different environments, right? Go ahead, Daryl.
So, John, I think one of the things you hit on, and just to kind of dig a little in this, is you mentioned where their challenges were, and they were doing pretty well with the development stuff, but when it got to the actual operations and handing it off to operations, that's kind of their challenge, right? And I think that's important because I think as you guys went through the early assessment or understanding kind of where they were, it's important that not all customers are starting at the same place. And I think that's important because there are lots of different entry points into DevOps and improving the capabilities of DevOps. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out as you were talking.
That's absolutely true, right? So I've worked with quite a few customers. Some customers are more advanced than others in terms of, the time they've spent in this space, right? So, working with operations, working with development team together to deploy their software. And some are just starting, right? So they just start heading down this road, and they just begin to realize, yeah, we got to address some of the problems between operations and developments, right? So, and this customer is, one of the latter, right? So they know that the whole process is not very smooth, but they weren't quite sure where they should start to try to address those problems. So
that must be where we came in.
Exactly, right? So that's where we came in, and so we didn't really spend a lot of time to look at every area of their process, because we just they knew that, oh yeah, these are the areas we really like you guys, the experts, to kind of focus on, so get us started really quickly. That's what we did, and really, like I said, they seem to be fine with the development side of things, but when it comes to the operation side of things, like I said, their deployment processes are very complicated, right? And also there's no consistency, even when it comes to one application. When they deploy to different environments, they tend to follow different processes, right? And also they do have a lot of environments, a lot of computers, and they didn't have a consistent way of managing those environments, not to mention the artifacts they deploy to those environments. One of the questions people ask very often is, okay, well, what do I have in this environment? Oh, okay, if I know what I have in this environment, but what specific versions have I deployed into this environment, right? They could eventually find that out, but there was no, very straightforward way to find that out, okay? So, and like I said, the deployment process, the scripts tend to be complicated, and really it takes a lot of knowledge to be able to use those scripts correctly. So every time they have a release they need to deploy to their production system, guess what? It was very nerve-wracking. People tend to work long hours. Even with that, problems always happen.
Okay. Well, keeping an eye on the time, I'm going to suggest, why don't you move into and tell us, what did we do, how were we able to help the customer, and that sort of thing.
Sure. So we basically worked with the customer very closely to come up with a list of process practice improvement ideas, right? We prioritized them, and also we introduced IBM Urban Code Deploy and Release to really help implementing those improvements, right? We didn't want to try to deliver or make those improvements at once. So we prioritized them, we grouped them into different phases, and then we identified some quick win pilots, right? I'm happy to report that the initial pilots, we've done a few of those. The results were just astounding, right? So I just heard just a few weeks ago they were able to deploy applications to the environments in Europe and in China, and the deployment time dropped from hours to just minutes, right? 4 hours to 20 minutes. What was more compelling was that the deployment process now is a lot more streamlined, right? So you don't really need to know everything to be able to click a button to deploy, right? So now that takes a lot of burden off of those key resources they have, right? And also they really like the idea of building the same deploying applications to different environments following pretty much the same process. This way you have continuity and you have predictability, right? So if you can deploy something in a lower environment because you're following the same process, you have a better confidence that it'll work with the higher environments, right? So with the success from the initial pilots, the rest of the teams, they want to jump on this thing. They want to implement those improvements. They want to use the tooling to help them to deploy their applications. So that was, at the end, it was a very happy customer.
So John, real quick, just wanted, as you left this customer, their current state, I know one of the things you guys do a lot is establish a core team and make sure that core team, is able to take the reins after you guys left. So where are they at this point? Are they in good shape, or they're leading the next set of pilots and going forth?
Very, very good question. And when we started, we made an effort to kind of start slow to ease them into this. But we did work with a few people on the core team. And right now, those people, they are the leaders of this effort, right? So, and other teams, they come to these people, and most of the time, they can get answers from these people. And so, yeah, they're doing great, and these people are doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, it's quite a success story. It sounds like the customer is really very happy, and the results are measurable and easy to see. If you've got teams all over the company ready to jump in and get involved in deploying their applications through this process, it sounds like everything went really smoothly and it was a good job done. So glad to hear that. I know we're short on time, so I'm going to ask that we wrap for today. I want to thank you both for joining, and really appreciate your time, and glad to hear such a good story. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Daryl.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.